It's the most flexible depth algorithm yet. This is Marigold. And it's really good at doing fantastical depth measurements. So things that you would maybe not expect to be able to get good depth information from, because it's actually a fine tuning of stable diffusion with some extra special steps along the way. So one of the most amazing aspects of this Marigold setup is that it is stable diffusion. So most of the advancements that have happened with stable diffusion, things like controlled net, in painting, out painting, can actually be converted over into this setup. A lot of the ideas are going to take some time to convert over, but I think these things are really promising. And you may wonder, like, why is control net on a depth map generator a useful concept? And there's a bunch of control net tooling that is really helpful. So things like the tile setup, so you can do things where you have a really large depth map and then you cut it down into little pieces. There are other algorithms like the boost algorithm, and there's a new one that's like a fusion patch or something. The other thing is like things like using a depth map as a controlling tool, you might actually be able to get metric depth. So right now most depth is relative, so it gives you kind of like what's in the distance and what's far, but it doesn't actually convert it into like metric information. And there are some depth algorithms that do that, but for the most part they're really low resolution. So if you took one of those really low resolution depth map algorithms that gives you this metric information and then use it as like a controlling tool for this other thing, since they're such technical tools, there's a lot of other like refinements that you might want to make with them that aren't available a lot of the time. And then also things like having tiling features. There's so many things that with depth maps you would want things that come from stable diffusion but you don't have. And a lot of times, because a lot of these algorithms are kind of one-off algorithms and they aren't connected to a larger ecosystem, you can't do a lot of these kind of edits and stuff, that things. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so I wanted to show some of the kind of preliminary work that I have been doing with in-painting and these depth maps. So Marigold really easily allows you to extend a lot of the ideas from stable diffusion into depth maps. So here we have the original version, and then I tried to do some in-painting. So right now it's mostly just following the mask information. So we have one where the outside is further back, and we have another where the outside is like closer. And you can tell those really significantly modify the actual images. So in one case, it like all the little details end up getting pulled out a lot more, which you probably don't want. But then in the other one, it does a really good job of kind of smoothing out the shape. And that's actually really nice, especially when we're generating 3D structures, because it kind of creates this like smoothing effect that's also has all the depth information included as well. So I'm really excited with this. Like if you look at the edges, you'll notice that those edges are not as sharp in the actual when we're playing around with the background. And that's actually a really good thing for some of the methods that I've been using to create 3D structures. So in particular, when you're kind of doing that like sandwiching process, you really don't want there to be these like harsh edges. But it's exciting because there's a lot more mathy ways that we can start getting at this, and I'm kind of excited about that because you might be able to like limit the normals and then make it so that it's like a smooth boundary between the back and the front. Basically, I think there's some really great opportunities here. One of the other things that I wanted to highlight is this was trained with Stable Diffusion version 2, which is like the worst Stable Diffusion. And it's also the like one of the slowest too. So like right now we have all these turbo models, which presumably this type of training could also work with. But so that's something that could be a really big improvement in the coming weeks. Actually, it's probably gonna be coming months. And then the other thing that is like it's not trained on any of the SDXL models, which are some of the kind of higher quality models out there. So it kind of lacks those two things. And so I would be really excited to see what it would look like with those models. Although they also might not work on my computer. So I'm kind of happy that they used one of the older models just for like memory size. It is one of the heavier models. It's comparable to ZoeDepth in terms of the amount of memory it uses. So in order to use Marigold, you just have to go to the repo and then download it and run it. It is currently being integrated with the Depthmap repo, so that it'll have kind of like you'll have a really easy access through Auto 112 1.1.1. But that's a work in progress right now. There's a branch for it, so you can switch your branch to this Marigold branch, and then it should be working. But the Marigold has been undergoing a lot of updates in recent times. So if you wanted to get like the most recent version, you really do have to go to the original repo for now. In the future, it should just be perfectly integrated. So if you're watching this like a month or two from now, hopefully by then everything is stable. That's all I have for today. Have a good day.